Hi class, this is 2013 question number 6. On the packet it's a May 5th question, and it's separate and integrate. Folks, the AP exam has been changed. As you know, this is one of those topics that I really believe is going to be heavy on the test. I mean, the test is only 40 minutes. When I say heavy, I think at least 25% of your points are going to come from this. That's my guess. Hopefully it's a straightforward separate and integrate like this. When I say straightforward, you'll see what I mean later on when we do some questions that are not quite as straightforward. Anyways, so let's go ahead and look at the question. We're going to start with part A. Now, part A asks you to write the equation of a tangent line. See, it says two parts. First part, write the equation of a tangent line. And then second part, use the tangent line to approximate 1.2. So part A asks for an equation of a tangent line. Now, a tangent line needs two things. It needs a point. And folks, the point is right here. They give you the point, 1, 0. That's your x and your y. And then they need the slope. Now, slope comes from the derivative. So the slope will come from the derivative. So notice I already have a derivative, and all I want to know is what's the slope at 1, 0. So I'm going to plug in the 1 and the 0 for the x and the y into here. So the y is a 0, the x is a 1, the x is a 1. So e to the 0 is 1, this is 3 minus 6, and that's negative 3 times 1, which is negative 3. So the slope is negative 3. So we take the point and the slope and write the equation of in point-slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And that's it. We earned some points. That's the first thing. The second thing they want us to do is now use the tangent line to approximate f of 1.2. So what is that about equal? Now, important thing when you see this, this is f of x. So that's the x. So they're basically saying, make this the x, what does y equal? So y, now I don't need y minus 0, it's just y. So all I need to do is plug the x in there. Now, if this had been another number like a 3 or 4, we'd have to add it to the other side. But it's not. Y is already by itself. We're done. You do not simplify. If you simplify and you mess up, you lose points. Now, the only thing I'm going to do is instead of calling this y, I'm going to call it f of 1.2. But there you go. So we took a point and a slope, wrote the equation of a tangent line in point-slope form, and then we used the tangent line, we plugged in a value into the tangent line to approximate f of 1.2. And that is it for part A. Alright, so what are they looking for part B? I need you to look at the words, find y equals. They're asking us to find what y equals, or find the particular solution. Very important. Find what y equals or find the particular solution. That is your key to separate and integrate. And if you do not separate, if you just try to take the antiderivative right now, they won't even grade it. You just get no points. So, before I can separate and integrate, I have to separate, meaning I have to move this dx to the other side. So I'm going to first start by moving the dx to the other side. And now notice my x's are together. But it's not good enough just to have the x's. We've got to get the y's to the other side. So now I'm going to divide this e to the y to the other side. Okay. And I earned my first points. That's separate. So the e to the y divided over, the dx multiplied over, and now we're going to integrate. Let's talk about integrating on the left-hand side. Okay. You can't take the antiderivative of it where it is right now. Here is our rule. The antiderivative of e to the u du is e to the u. Notice where the e is. The e is on top. It cannot be the bottom. It has to be on the top. So, before I can even bother with this side, the e to the y has to go to the top and the exponent changes. Okay, now if we're going to use the antiderivative over here, so let's look. if we want to take the antiderivative of e to the negative y dy, remember it's e to the, if it was just e to the y, the antiderivative of e to the y is e to the y, we're done. But if it's not perfectly a y, or if it's not perfect, it's got to be a u. So we're going to have to do u substitution here. So, give a little more space. So to take the antiderivative of this, I would have to make this the u. And if the u is negative y, the du would have to be negative 1 dy. Now we have the dy, we don't have a negative 1. So we have to put a negative 1 offset by a negative 1. If we do this, now we have a negative 1 in front. So we got a negative 1 in front. And now this is an e to, that's the u, and this is the du. So when I go to take the antiderivative, we're just going to have a negative 1 in front. So my antiderivative over here is going to be a negative. There's going to be a negative in front, and then e to the u. And we're done on that side. So the antiderivative was a negative in front, and then the antiderivative of e to the u was e to the u. So it's negative e to the u. The u gets replaced back with negative y. On the right-hand side, the antiderivative is easy. Add 1 to the exponent and divide. And here we add 1 to the exponent and divide. When I divide by 2, 6 divided by 2 is a 3. And then I put a plus c. Okay, so I have now earned a lot of my points. So the idea is you separate, you integrate, you've earned points, you put a plus c, and now we go all the way back to here. And we need to plug that in to solve for c. Now, you don't have to plug in for c right now, but I want you to. The sooner you plug in for c, the sooner you earn your point. And we just want points. Points past the AP exam. So I'm going to make the y a 0. Obviously negative 0 is just 0, and the x is a 1. So I get negative, and e to the 0 is 1, so over here I get a negative 1. Over here I get 1 minus 3. 1 minus 3 is going to be negative 2. And I'm going to add c to the other side, and I get 1. So I'm going to take that c is 1 and plug it in. So I now have negative e to the negative y equals x to the third minus 3x squared plus 1. All right, so from here, I want to get points. To finish getting all the points, all I got to do is get that y by itself. So the first thing to get that y by itself is I'm going to divide everything by a negative. So I divide everything by a negative. I get e to the negative y equals negative x to the third plus 3x squared minus 1. And now I'm going to destroy the e by ln'ing both sides. So I'm going to put an ln in front of both sides. And on this side, the ln destroys the e. So I have a negative y. So to finish getting y by itself, I have to get rid of the negative, so I'm just going to divide a negative to the other side. And there's just going to be a negative in front of the other side. Now, we're done. We got y by itself. They did not ask us anything about the domain. If they'd asked us about the domain, think about it really quick. What can you ln? You can't ln 0, you can't ln negative. So if they asked for domain, which they didn't, but if they asked for domain, you would basically mention that whatever's underneath here has to be greater than 0. But they didn't ask, you don't have to do it. But anyways, that's separate and integrate. They're not that bad once we get good at them again. And so that's why we're going to be practicing them. Thank you so much.